download our Revise It Right revision app for hundreds of videos, quizzes, exam questions, tutor support and so much more. This video is on chromosomes and the cell cycle. Now chromosomes contain genetic information. I'm going to draw here a diagram of an animal cell. Okay, now you'll remember that the nucleus controls a cell, but more importantly for this video, contains genetic material. Now you find this genetic material coiled up in the form of chromosomes. Now there are 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes found in human cells. Now chromosomes are coiled up lengths of DNA and they look something like this. This is how we draw and describe a chromosome. Now body cells normally have two copies of each chromosome, as you can see, one here and one here. And one of them comes from the mum and one of them comes from the dad. So humans have two copies of chromosome 1, two copies of chromosome 2, etc. Okay. Now remember that humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes in their cells. Now cells need to divide for two main reasons. The first is for growth. Okay, if you imagine, remember to download our Revise It Right revision app, watch over 700 videos, answer 4,000 plus quiz questions, over 1,000 flashcards, 1,000 exam questions, worksheets, forums, and get help from qualified teachers and so much more. The link is in the description. We came from just one cell, sperm and egg fused together to make one cell. We are now millions of cells large. So to get as large as we are, our cells needed to go from 1 to 1,000,000. So they needed to divide for growth. And they also divide for repair. Now they do this in a series of stages called the cell cycle. And I'm going to take you through what happens in each of those stages now. So here we go in stage 1, and I'm going to draw a cell here, okay, with a nucleus, and for ease I'm going to say that this cell contains only one chromosome. However, remember that we have 23 pairs of chromosomes in each of our cells. I'm also, for the ease of this explanation, going to draw 3 mitochondria and 3 ribosomes. Okay, now in step 1, 3 things happen. First of all, our DNA replicates. So one chromosome becomes 2. Alright, if we had 23 pairs, that would become 46 pairs of chromosomes. But for our video, one chromosome has become 2, so our DNA replicates. Also, the organelles have to duplicate as well. So if we're trying to create identical cells here, if one cell has 3, we're going to need 2 cells, each with 3 each. So we're going to need 6 of the mitochondria. So our organelles, so the mitochondria, duplicate, and the ribosomes duplicate as well. And another thing that happens is a cell actually enlarges. So the cell actually gets bigger. And that is what happens in stage 1. The DNA replicates, the organelles duplicate, and the cell enlarges. Now in stage 2, what happens is the nucleus breaks down and the chromosomes line up in the centre of the cell. Okay, so one thing that happens is the nucleus breaks down. And the second thing that happens is the chromosomes line up in the equator, in the middle of the cell. And then these chromosomes are pulled apart. Okay, so these chromosomes here are pulled apart to each side of the cell. So chromosomes pulled apart. And that's what happens in stage 2. Now this is actually called mitosis. That's what stage 2 is. And in AQA we don't have to learn about the stages of mitosis, just that it is in stage 2 in the cell cycle. The nucleus breaks down, the chromosomes line up, and then the chromosomes are pulled apart. And then in stage 3, what happens, so I'm going to draw what we had at the end of stage 2. What happens is a new nuclear membrane forms, and a new cell membrane forms around the cell. So see what I'm doing there? And cell membrane forms around the cells, and then the cells actually split up. So these two cells are pulled apart, and the cells then actually split up. So this forms an identical copy to that original cell we had in stage 1. Okay, where each will contain just 1 chromosome and 3 mitochondria and 3 ribosomes, etc. Okay, so stage 1, DNA replicates, the organelles duplicate and the cells enlarge. Stage 2, the nucleus breaks down, chromosomes line up and the chromosomes are pulled apart. And in stage 3, a new nuclear membrane forms, a cell membrane forms, and the cell splits. We do need to remember what happens in each of those 3 stages. So what I'd like you to now have a go at is to answer these questions, and then we'll run through the answers together. So pause the video now. Okay, so question 1, what is a chromosome? Well, chromosomes are coiled up lengths of DNA. They're stores of DNA. Are chromosomes normally in pairs or single? So they're normally found in pairs, remember, 1 from the mum and 1 from the dad. What happens when cells differentiate? So this is a bit of a throwback to a previous video, and if you haven't watched it then please watch differentiation and specialization video. But when a cell differentiates, it turns from an unspecialized cell to a specialized cell. Why is mitosis or cell cycle important? 2 reasons: growth and repair. To grow and to repair. How many chromosomes does a normal body cell have in a human? 23 pairs. What happens in the first stage of the cell cycle? Well, you could have written one of 3 things really. So the DNA replicates, the organelles duplicate, and the cell enlarges. That's in stage 1. In stage 2, you could have had the nucleus breaks down, the chromosomes line up along the equator, and the chromosomes are pulled apart. And then in the third stage, you could have had the new nuclear membrane forms, a new cell membrane forms, and then the cell splits. So now we've learnt there about chromosomes and what they are, and about the cell cycle and the different stages within the cell cycle. You can now move on to test yourself with the quiz and on exam questions. If there's anything you didn't understand, then please do get in contact with one of our tutors who will happily help.